Hey Dad, here's your yoga sequence. So first I just want you to start lying on your back just for a little bit. So just come to lying down, starting in Savasana. And I just want you to relax your whole body for a minute. And just take a few breaths. And try to take really long inhales and exhales. So right now you're just trying to pay really close attention to your body, maybe doing a physical scan and just noticing how you're feeling today. And then to just take really deep breaths. Let them completely fill up your abdomen and then completely empty out. And then just stay like this for a few more breaths. And then when you're ready, just roll off to one side and then sit yourself up to seated. And we'll just start with a seated twist. So just sit cross-legged on your sit bones, really tall spine. And then from here, what I want you to do is to inhale your arms up, interlace your hands, flip your palms so they're facing up. Take an inhale, and then on an exhale, start to twist right between your shoulders, but keep both of your sit bones down. A lot of times your left one wants to lift up. And then just drop your arms and help them twist you a little further, but trying to keep it right up here. And then come back and do the same thing. Inhale your arms up, flip your palms to the ceiling. Take an inhale, and then exhale, twist to the left, keeping both sit bones on the floor. Then release your hands and twist a little further. And then come back to center. And just bring your hands down and come to all fours. Have your wrists right underneath your shoulders and your knees right underneath your hips. Flat spine. And then on an inhale, just start to lift your gaze, lift your hips, drop your belly, coming into cow. And then on an exhale, round your spine, bring your chin to your chest for cat. Then inhale again, lift your chest. And exhale, round. And then just do 3 more with your breath. You can lengthen them or move your hips or whatever you want. And then when you're done with your third one, just come back to a flat spine. Move your hands about 1 handprint further in front of you, and then flip your toes, lift your hips up to downward facing dog. So first, you can kind of walk it out, pedal your hips side to side, but then I want you to set it up really well. So spread your fingers really wide, and really press into all of your hands, so your palm, your fingers, everything. And then press a little bit more into your pointer finger and thumb, and wrap your inner arms up towards the ceiling and your outer arms in towards one another. So your biceps will kind of roll up. And then lift your hips up, bend your knees, lift your sit bones higher, press your chest towards your thighs, and then keep that really long, straight spine, and then start to straighten out your legs a little bit, but keep them a little bit bent just to keep your spine really long so you don't start to round your back. And then just work the backs of your legs, breathe into your hamstrings. And then walk your hands back to your feet and just come into a forward fold. So make sure your feet are hips distance and your heel goes right behind your second toe. And then bend your knees so your low belly is on your thighs. Grab opposite elbows and then just hang. And while you're here, keep your belly on your thighs, but start to work the backs of your legs a little bit towards straight. So you're working to open up your hamstrings here too. Just take a few breaths. And then from here, bring your hands to your hips and come all the way up to standing. And then come to the top edge of your mat if you're using one. And we'll just do some half sun salutations. So first, you set up your standing pose really well. So have the base of your big toes touching. Your heel goes right behind your second toe just to create a nice base. And then press your feet all the way down. So your toes, your heels, everything. And then engage your calf muscles so it feels like your feet are lifting. Spin your inner thighs towards one another, but then drop your tailbone down. And then collarbones wide. Arms by your sides, palms face forward. And then think really tall through the crown of your head. And now keep all of this. Inhale your arms up. Wrap your outer arms in so your pinkies come towards one another. And then exhale your hands through heart center. Fold forward. Bend your knees if you have to touch the floor. And just like before, you're going to work to straighten your legs little bit by little bit, keeping your low belly here. And then inhale, straighten your legs. Lift your chest. You can bring your hands on your shins. And then just really widen your chest. You're lifting right between your shoulder blades so that the crown of your head is just reaching forward. And then exhale, fold. And we'll do that again. So inhale all the way up, arms overhead. And then exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale up again. Pinkies wrap in towards one another. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift your chest. And then exhale, fold. One more time. Inhale all the way up. And exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale up. Exhale, hands through heart center, forward fold. Inhale, lift your chest. And then exhale, bring your hands back down. And from here, just step back into the down dog that we did before. So hips lift up. And then just take a few breaths here again. And then in your next inhale, just bring your right foot forward in between your hands. And we're going to go into a hamstring stretch. So drop your back knee down. And then shift your hips backwards. And then flex your right foot towards you. So make sure that your pinky toe is flexing towards you just as much as your pointer toe. And also make sure that your left toes are shooting back. All 5 toes on the mat. And then from here, make sure your chest is still really straight. And you're slowly working to open up the back of your leg. And just breathe. And then come back forward, and we're going to go up into a high lunge. So first, sorry, it's going black. So first, hug your hips into one another. Lift your back leg up. Slowly come all the way up to crescent. So your back heel is lifted, and what I want you to do first is to bend your back knee a lot. Do that, and then drop your tailbone. Lift your hip points up towards one another, or up towards your chest. And then keep that, but slowly start to straighten out your back leg. When it feels like your tailbone's about to flare out, just stop there so your back leg can stay bent. And then you're bending in towards your front knee, but make sure you can still see your toes. Then inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, maybe sink deeper. And then while you're here, keep breathing and keep wrapping your outer arms in towards one another so your pinkies wrap in and reach up. Then bring your hands back down through heart center, down to the mat. Step your right foot back into downward dog. And then from here, step your left foot forward, and we'll do the same thing. So drop your back knee, shift your hips back, flex your left foot towards you. Make sure that your pinky edge is flexing just as much as your big toe side. And that all 5 toes of your right foot are on the floor. And again, really wide chest. You're slowly working to open up the back of your leg. Keep breathing. And then come forward. Curl your back toes under. Lift your knee up. Hug your hips together. It'll help you stay stable. And then slowly come all the way up to your high lunge. And so again, Your back heel is lifted, and then bend your back knee a lot. Drop your tailbone, lift your hip points. Keep that. Then start to straighten out your right leg and stop when it feels like your tailbone's about to flare out. And maybe bend a little further. Inhale your arms up, and then exhale, deepen a little. And then again, wrap your arms in towards one another, reach up, and keep breathing. And then bring your hands back to heart center, down to the mat. Step your foot back. Then just take a breath in your down dog, and then walk your feet up towards your hands. And just come all the way back up to standing, hands on your hips. Now turn to the side, step out wide. And then once you step out wide, make sure that your heel is still right behind your second toe. So a lot of times you have to kind of spin your heels out and your toes in a little bit. And then once you have that, make sure that all four corners of your feet are planted, so pinky edge and big toe side. And then you're still engaging your leg muscles, so you're not locking your knees. So engage your your calves. Spin your inner thighs in just a touch, then drop your tailbone. Lift your hip points up. Bring your hands onto your hips. Inhale, find a little bit of lift, and then exhale, fold from your hips. Keep a really long spine though. And when it feels like right between your shoulders, your upper back is about to round, just stop where you are. You can either keep your hands on your hips or you can put them on a block. Either way. But with every inhale, you'll find a little more length, and every exhale, you'll fold more from your hips, keeping a really long spine. And then make sure while you're here that the weight's still equal in your feet. A lot of times we're heavy in our heels, so maybe lean forward a little into your toes. Make sure all of your leg muscles are still working. You're not locking your knees. So you're still activating your calf muscles, your hamstrings, your quads. And then just breathe. And then bring your hands back to your hips if you put them on the block, and slowly come all the way back up to standing. And then just step your right foot back up to meet your left, and then just come to the floor to seated, and we'll do a quick seated series. So once you come to seated, we're going to start with a forward fold. So grab your strap, and just have your feet out in front of you. If today your low back is sore at all, have your feet about hips distance. That'll help. But flex your feet back, and again, make sure that your pinky side is flexed just as much as your big toe side. And then, if it's really hard to sit up tall on your sit bones and have your shoulders stacked right over your hips, bend your knees, and then bring your strap around your feet, and just hold on to that. And what you're going to work on is just keeping that really long spine, crown of your head reaching to the ceiling. And then you're going to slowly activate your legs, squeeze your quads, and work your hamstrings to get your legs more towards straight. So you don't even have to lean forward today. I just want you to work your legs towards straight, keeping a long spine. And then keep breathing. And eventually, if your legs become straight, whether that's today or another day, you can always keep that really long spine and then fold from your hips again, stopping when your upper back feels like it's about to round. But just do what's best for you today. And then come up. And from here, bring your feet together. Have your knees out wide. You can have your feet far from you, or you can have them hugged in close to you. Whatever won't hurt your knees and what feels more comfortable. But just like before, you can hold on to your ankles, but I want you to sit on your sit bones and sit really tall, shoulders stacked over your hips. And then from your hip muscles and your glutes, I want you to feel like you're opening up your knees a little more. So that same feel as if you were to press on your knees, but instead of pressing with your hands, you're just using the muscles in your hips. And then inhale, sit really tall. And again, right from your hip. You can stay here if you already feel opening in your glutes or in your hips. But you're going to stay really tall, and you'll just fold forward from your hips, not letting your shoulders round. Make sure your sit bones stay on the mat because it can be really easy to let them flare up. And then come up and come back to lying on your back, and we'll do a few more things. So once you're on your back, flex your right ankle over your left knee, and then really bring your toes back towards your knee, so you're flexing your foot. And then from here you can stay, otherwise you can grab underneath your left thigh and bring it in closer towards your chest. Just make sure that the back of your pelvis and the backs of your shoulders are still on the floor. And then breathe into your right hip. Make sure you're not feeling it at all in your right knee. If you are, just adjust it, maybe release your grip a little, and then breathe. And release that side. And then bring your left ankle across your right knee, flex your left foot back. And then grab underneath your right thigh if you did that on the other side. And then again, release the back of your pelvis, the back of your shoulders onto the floor. And then breathe into your left hip. And make sure you're not feeling it in your left knee at all. Otherwise, just release your grip. And release that side. Then one final thing, we'll go into a twist. So just kind of shimmy your hips to the right, bring your knees in, drop them to the left. Then bring your right shoulder down towards the floor, look over to the right. Just try to keep your breath really long. You can also relax a bit in this pose too. You don't need to work so hard. And then come back up. Center yourself off, move your hips to the left, bring your knees in, drop them to the right. Then left shoulder towards the floor, look over to the left. And just keep the deep breathing. Come back up. And then center yourself off and just hug your knees into your chest. And then squeeze everything in really tight and take a really big inhale. And then exhale, release everything down. Come back into the Shavasana, where you're just lying on your back, feet flop open, arms come out to your sides. I like to wiggle my shoulders under my chest a little bit. And then just stay here for a few breaths. And just relax all of your muscles down. Just taking a moment, feeling every inhale and every exhale. And just completely releasing for a second. Just stay here for about 3 more breaths. And then roll off to one side. And come all the way up to seated. And you're all done. There you go, Dad.